Hi, welcome to the Photo Flunky Show, episode number 51. Our subject for today, we're going to be talking about how to make Instagram work for you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is William Beem.
Hi, my name is Lee Beem.
And as I said, today we're going to be talking about how to make Instagram work for you. But before we get to that, let me go ahead and start off saying show notes are going to be available at williambeem.com/episode 51, and you can find a transcript of the show there for free. Links to subscribe are at photoflunky.com, or if you subscribe to the transcript, they're in that little email too.
Yes.
I know. And we'd be happy if you'd check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. We'll have links to that on the show notes page. And also, I want to remind everybody, if you've got a Mac and you're looking for some great post-processing software, my coupon code for Mac Fun is just my last name, Beem, B-E-E-M, and that'll save you 10%. I'll get a little bit of a commission for an affiliate. You save 10% and get some great photography software. I mean, if you're looking for the Creative Kit, if you're looking for Aurora HDR 2017, it's all wonderful stuff. And keep in mind, Luminar, their raw processing engine, is going to be coming out pretty soon. It's definitely worth a look. Take a look at macfun.com. When you check out, use the coupon code BEAM. So today we're going to be talking about how to make Instagram work for you. And the first thing, is like, why? There's so many social media platforms out there, and it's kind of hard really to run the gamut of all of them. I mean, you'd spend all your time doing social media if you tried to do everything at once.
Yes, you would.
And I think common wisdom is like pick like 2 or 3 really. And I'm kind of stretching it. I'm on 4 of them. I mean, with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, and I'm probably going to have to cut back somewhere. And
what would you cut if you cut something?
Believe it or not, probably Instagram, because I'm not doing it as well as you are. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you about Instagram, so maybe I can be doing this better. The thing with Instagram is, I think it's more of you're building a brand awareness because you don't really get a chance to put a link into each photo that you do.
Yes.
But it's a way of like kind of showing what you can do or sharing a message. So at least that's the way I see it. But tell me how you see Instagram.
I think what I like about Instagram, I've kind of fallen out of love with Facebook. Not really so much to do with Facebook, but it can just be ongoing. You can get into something with a simple comment and it just feels like you can't escape it and everything just piles on from there. I found it very time consuming. And the nice thing about Instagram is because it's so visual, you can put a lengthy description, detailed description in there, and people, the people who are interested are going to read it. But there's not this urge or need or even any ability to like a comment. People will leave a comment and that's it. You can reply or leave it. So I find it's a nice in and out, and you can deal with it when you deal with it.
Now, do you spend as much time following other people on Instagram as you do trying to cultivate your own following?
I probably spend at least as much time following them, but the nice thing about that is I'm following people because I'm genuinely interested in what they have. I don't give obligatory follow backs.
Neither do I. And that's one thing I've really never bought into is like, trading a like for a like or for a sub for a sub, for subscriptions. It's like, no, it doesn't make any sense to have a follower who's not genuinely interested in what you're sharing.
That's true. And I mean, you do get those who will follow you to see if you follow them back. I'll go and check out the profile of each and every new follower to see if they might have something I'm interested in. But if I see that as one of these kind of like mongers, I leave them be, and that's why you'll see the numbers going up and down because they'll wait a day or two and then they unfollow you. I'm fine with that. I'd prefer that they're not there because I like my audience to be engaged.
And that's kind of one of the things that I promote about social media. It's not necessarily the size of your audience, but rather it's the size of your engaged audience.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to 100 people who are actively engaged, I think that's much better than having 1,000 or 2,000 followers who really aren't there for you.
That's true. And my following, we're talking about my personal Instagram right now. My following is tiny. We're talking about 55 to 65 followers, and it kind of fluctuates slightly. That's pretty much where I am.
But yet on the other one you manage is for the Orlando local site that we've got. And we've got a bit more following there because you've got a different topic for your Instagram personal than what we do. And it's going to have different following for the most part.
They are very different followings. And also the way that I use those accounts is quite significantly different because of the type of following.
Okay. So for Orlando local, it is pretty much for visitors to Orlando and with a tilt towards Disney World.
It has a tilt towards Disney World. We also share sort of popular restaurants or good food. That always does very well. And, anything that's current or going on, if we have anything else that's interesting, but I would say right now it's predominantly food, drink, Instagram, and, something that anything else that might come up is just almost incidental at the moment.
Okay. And then you got your own Instagram.
Yes.
So give me a little bit more about that and the kind of audience that you're gathering.
Well, my own Instagram is really about my passion for running, and a lot of the people I follow are runners. But it's not only running things. I have also found that runners have two other things in common. They like food and they like wine and beer. So it all kind of works together, and they also like to relax. So anything to do with relaxation or nature seems to kind of fit in there pretty well as well. So they like to see the cheat food and they like to see the healthy food. It kind of gives a lot of scope, but it's quite a narrow little specified field.
All right. So this is the part that fascinates me, because one of the things I remember from other photography sites, whether it be Flickr or 500px, was I always thought you need to have a theme, kind of, because if you're going to draw people in, you want to draw a specific audience. You're drawing in an audience of runners.
Yes.
But yet your theme allows you to have both healthy food and junk food.
It does.
That's fascinating to me.
It does, because, and that is actually a reflection on me. And probably I've found that a lot of other people see it this way as well. I believe that it's far easier to have a cleaner, more balanced lifestyle if you keep it balanced. And to keep it balanced means you don't deprive yourself. So I do like to put a little bit of what people would look at as food sins into my diet, and I share it because I also don't want to create the illusion that I live this perfect life. I want people to see that if you put something in moderation, you can really enjoy it. Don't feel bad about it. But try and find things that you enjoy that are good for you as well.
And that's reasonable, because I remember one of the races that you went to, at the end of it, they were giving everybody who participated beer and pancakes.
Yes.
I really never thought of beer and pancakes
for
together.
Breakfast.
Beer and pancake breakfast. After you wake up at some ungodly hour in the morning, you go run, and you come back and you get beer and pancakes.
I know. And really, the pancakes at these breakfasts are never good. I always tell people I sign up for the beer and pancakes. It's really just the beer.
So it's like after you've run that long race, you're just you're getting a craving for beer. It's filling something.
I do, because the beer is something I never touched in my life. It absolutely repulsed me.
But after running, and that's why I was kind of curious, because I'm looking at your Instagram feed, I'm thinking, what in the world is this stuff doing here? But it really does relate to runners. And I guess if you don't know a runner, or if you're not a runner who's going into these races, you probably wouldn't understand the connection, but it's a very strong connection. It
is. I think it's all about the balance, because some of, depending what people are training for, some of these people are actually devoting the greater part of their life. I mean, right now I'm training for a marathon. I can tell you that I'm putting in excess of 10 hours a week. It's not all running. Most of it is, but there's other work that needs to go in to make sure that you keep your muscles and joints healthy. We're putting in 10 plus hours a week for something like that. And I'm not even anywhere near the peak of it. People want to have a bit of balance in it. They want to see the fun side. And I think it's good to almost to reaffirm that it's okay and it's actually good for you.
All of this comes together. You've got a specific audience in mind. And that's what was important for Instagram.
I do.
Is that you need to have an audience kind of defined in mind, and then you need to understand what are they going to be looking for, because some of them are just like any Instagram user. They're flicking through trying to find something related to whatever interests them.
Yes.
And if you don't have something on topic, you may or may not be able to really gather an audience. I mean, let's say that you combine all of the different stuff that you did for Orlando Local, my photography, and your running stuff on one Instagram feed, it probably wouldn't go anywhere.
It probably wouldn't, no, because there would be too much content that is of no interest to one sector or another of the audience way too often.
So the key here, what I'm hearing, is know your audience. In your case, it's going to be runners.
Yes.
And then know what your audience wants. So you can jump around a bit with your subject matter.
You can.
So long as it all falls under that umbrella of runners.
Yes. Now, something else that I've learned that I had to do, and I've had to suck it up a bit, there are certain things that I don't like. I don't like filters over photos. I don't care for that kind of Instagram look and those, what do you call it? When you get the tinted color.
I call it ugly crap.
Yeah, but, it's never been my thing. We've always agreed on that. However, there are certain situations where it works, especially if you're putting some text over it and you're creating some kind of graphic. The other thing is that people like selfies. They want to see you, especially on these fitness things. They want to see you doing what you do. So they want a picture of you running or working out or relaxing. I don't like selfies. I don't like to be on the business end of the camera. But I've also had to learn to suck it up. And I think that's why I used the filter once or twice, because it kind of made me feel less exposed until I got used to it. It's not something I like to do, but I've also realized that you have to give people what they like. And sometimes it costs you a little bit without losing your identity.
Well, I think if we take that same concept and turn it back towards photographers, other photographers or people who are watching kind of want to see some behind the scenes stuff. Yes, they want to see your art and the work that you're doing, but that's not the only topic.
No.
So they want to see examples of you doing it. They want to see the location that you're at, maybe just kind of like, this is how I go through my day to get the shots that I'm showing you.
And also maybe at the end of the day, you know, we've both done it. We've been lugged down with gear. You are tired, you're exhausted. Maybe you're hot and sweaty and looking a bit bedraggled. With me, it's usually that my hair is all over the place and I look like a lion. See if somebody will take a picture of you looking bad. I know it sounds ridiculous, but people like to see the end of a tough working day because people can relate to it. And it's not something that everybody puts out there.
It's something that I haven't done, partly because one, when I've been off doing this stuff, I know I look horrible. I mean, I'm sweating, my hair's all over the place, depending on, you know, what I've been out and shooting. And then to ask someone to take a photo of me, I'm thinking like, ew, no, they don't want to see me. They want to see a model or they want to see a pretty scene or something like that. You know what? I'm wrong about that. They want to see you as much as they want to see the work that you're doing.
Well, for example, I have, you'll hear people who are into sports or fitness or maybe anything, you'll post your worst photo. There was a photo of me in that hot race that I did in June where it was just absolutely unbearable. 3 photos were taken in the same spot. The first one, I did not see the photographer. The second one, I spotted the photographer. And the third one, I was smiling and, you know, looking very cheerful. But the first one really captured how I was feeling. That last mile just took forever. And I had this look of pain and my face was kind of screwed up and it was just this, oh, let this be over. It's a terrible photo of me, but it's actually kind of funny. And that photo has been enormously popular.
Because it was a real moment.
Yes, now I haven't put it on Instagram, but I was bold enough to say, you know, this part of the race really sucked for me. Don't be fooled by the finish line. So I showed the before you've seen the photographer and after you've seen the photographer. And people like that. Because it's real and it's, you know, they're almost waiting for somebody to come out and say, listen, do you know what? I'm not perfect. How about you?
Well, I think there's a lot of that because nobody's perfect. I mean, even if they follow somebody, whether it's be a celebrity or somebody on Instagram, and they see these images that maybe that look really great to them, it's like, I wonder how they do that. Show them the other side of it. It's like you're sweating and you're squirting out of the top of your head. Your hair's all over the place.
I know.
It's like, that's how you do it.
Yeah. But, you know, don't be afraid to show, you know, like you say, it might be something behind the scenes. It might be a tough day. It might be a disaster. Don't be afraid to capture those in case you want to share them at some point. And you can think carefully about how you do it. I'm not suggesting that you have to go out and show yourself as the worst. And some people don't, and they have a lot of success. There's a girl, I don't actually follow her. She's incredibly popular in the area. She's one of the elite athletes. She has an Instagram and other social media accounts. Her photos are very highly processed. She's a beautiful girl. She is absolutely phenomenal at what she does, but they're all kind of model shots. She never shows herself in a bad light and she only shows herself when she wins. Her followers kind of reflect it, and the reason I don't follow her is not because I don't think she's good, because she's awesome, but I cannot relate to somebody who only shows the best side. And you can see that everyone there is always giving compliments. Oh, you're wonderful. And I thought, well, I don't want people to just think I'm wonderful. I want people to be able to talk to me and feel like I'm just like them.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, you got to look and see what you want. Do you want to be put on a pedestal? And I'm not saying that's wrong. If that works for you in what you're doing, do it. It might be something very professional and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But for me, I want to be human. I want to have the mistakes out there, and I want real people who make real mistakes and have bad days. I want them to be my friends and followers. So we've got something real to talk about.
And that's something, a trend that I see among other people, particularly some of the models that I've photographed or some of the ones that I'm following online. We put hair and makeup on them and they're gorgeous. They're stunning. But every once in a while, they'll put out a photo that says, this is how I look without the makeup. And they're still beautiful people.
Yeah.
But it's clear that they look a little bit different without all the hair and makeup put on it. Yeah. They're the same person. But there are times, you know, when you're getting ready to do a photo shoot and someone will walk in and you think they're going to ask you for directions to the bathroom and they say, hi, I'm your model for the day. It's like they'll walk in with, you know, just comfortable clothing. Their hair is like in a ponytail, because I'm typically shooting female models. And you think, oh, okay. And then they walk out of hair and makeup
and
you look
wow.
at them, it's like, that's the
yeah.
That's the photo I'm looking for. And it's like, you see how it kind of transforms them a little bit. but it's interesting to see that the ones that'll share those kind of private moments or whatever it is, like maybe they're showing a picture of their favorite pet,
Yes.
or they'll show them behind the scenes, or just here's me getting ready for a photo shoot, kind of thing, makeup chair. Those are the things that I like those because you're seeing kind of a window into somebody's life and career. It doesn't have to be their whole life. You don't want it to be their whole life. Everybody's got private moments. But when you see kind of like, before and after, it shows you that, hey, this is kind of cool. Maybe I can do something like this too. I'm not going to be a model, but you know what I'm saying? It's like I can share. I'm kicking my table all over the place.
No, don't let it take off.
Okay, let me skip past that kind of the real life part of it. There's a couple other things that you do, and I wanted to ask about those. One is it's not just necessarily photos of you or photos that you've taken. You'll also put out things with text on them. And we've talked about this before, like some of the social media editing apps that you can use, like Typorama, WordSwag, or so forth. How often do you put out something that's got a quote on it, and why do you put out a quote, or what does that bring to the table?
I do it now. I'm doing it about at least once a week. I'd say it's usually towards the end of the week, maybe a Friday. So to end the week or to start the week, I do it because I've learned that people respond well to this. It's a quick in and out. And generally I put a fairly detailed caption underneath, some text and a description of the photo and maybe a story. I would say that the majority of the people you can see by comments have actually read it. There are people who are just visual, or they don't have the time to read it, or they don't even know that they can click on the more, and they seem to like these little things. But I think people do like memes. I like to make my own. I don't like to take somebody else's. So something will happen during the day. For example, what did I do? Was it week before last? Got to the end of the week. I'd done 55 miles for the week. I was thinking it's Friday. Saturday I usually have beer, and I had a photo I'd taken of two glasses of beer, one in front of the other, or a glass and a bottle. And I put the text over there, 55 miles this week. I've earned at least one of these. People loved it. Now it's a simple, silly little thing. I've had a few of them being shared. People have asked, do you mind if I share this? I said, well, look, no point us keeping all the smarts to ourselves. We need to educate everybody else. Go for it.
One of your first ones that you did was still one of my favorites, like how many miles per gallon for wine?
Yes.
Something like that.
I'm an economy runner. What did I say? 200? It was
200 miles for a bottle
200
of wine.
plus miles per gallon unleaded.
With a picture of your wine glass.
Yes, and the bottle.
And it got a great response to it.
It did.
But, there's a couple things I liked about those. One is it was an original thought and it was an original photo.
Yes.
I know a lot of people that will put out a quote that they found that someone else said over a stock photo.
Yes.
And maybe you see those passed around, but I don't think they get the same traction as if you take your own photo and you put up your own thought.
We live in a time where people seem to love words of wisdom and clever sayings and all these motivational things. And I'm not that easily motivated by somebody else. It might be my nature. I think I'm a bit of a self-motivator. I am motivated by something that comes from the person who's speaking to me. I think that's when something resonates with me, somebody speaking from personal experience. So I do like it when somebody puts their own little caption on something, because that means more to me.
I think you're right. I tried an experiment with this once, and I have mixed feelings. One, I really do love reading quotes from people. I don't like sharing them so much on my own. It's like, hey, look at what I found that someone else said. To me, that's a lack of original thought. But just for the fun of it, I tried it. I found a couple of quotes that I liked. I put them out there on Instagram with some photos on them. And you know what? They fell flat with a thud because people knew those quotes before. They also knew, it just wasn't anything that was relevant to what my topic was. And I thought, all right, this is not the right way to do it. You don't just throw stuff out there because you think it's clever. It's got to relate to what your audience is interested in. And it should be original to show that you've got original thought. You're going through the same thing that they are.
It does.
And then there's some relatability that comes with that.
That's a very important point, because what it comes down to is that you need to be true to yourself, but you also have to feed the audience what you want. Now, I don't mind making a compromise here and there for people who are loyal or kind enough to take the time to follow me, but I don't want to compromise on who I am and how I like to do things and the things I like. And I think that in itself has helped me to fine tune the people who I'm targeting. And I seem to be attracting people who like what I'm putting out. I'm not making any efforts to try and gain a huge following. But I would say that at least 70% in number of the followers that I have are active on the majority of the photos that I post, which I think is fairly high.
It is, and I think that was kind of what our premise is here, is not necessarily that we're telling you, here's how you build a lot of followers, but here's how you build an engaged audience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's one other thing that you do that I wanted to check up on before we end this, and that is the hashtags.
Yes.
So
I was given advice, and I have been through some articles where it's been said that you should have so many hashtags for this social media platform and so many for that, and always at least or never more than. And I started looking at the people who were doing well, but people who I admired, not necessarily, thousands and thousands of followers, but people who were pretty successful, and found they were putting however damn many hashtags they felt appropriate for the post. So sometimes I put something out that's got 4 or 5 hashtags. It might have 3. There are times where I've got 12, maybe 14, which is maybe on the high end of excessive for me. But on Instagram, I do it. And I leave my hashtags right at the bottom, because I think on Instagram, they're in a slightly different shade or a different color. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't interfere with the text the way it does when people try and incorporate it into text where you've got limited characters like Twitter. I find that very distracting. And so I do use hashtags. And I also, initially, when I was getting started, I searched to see what the appropriate hashtags were for the people
this is something else I see people do, and I don't know. Some people are just making up hashtags on the fly, which I don't understand, because hashtags are there for people to search.
Yes.
So if you're using something you just made up, no one's searching for that.
Oh.
I mean, obviously somebody's got to make this up, and if it's clever, maybe it'll catch on. One of the ones that we use on Orlando Local that I thought was clever and I really liked was the hashtag food I'd like to fork.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little kind of cheeky, but
yes.
I never said cheeky before we got married.
I said cheeky.
Yeah, I know. It's the British thing.
Yes.
But I just really like that. And there is an audience for it. And the other thing I've learned is you don't necessarily use the hashtag that has the largest audience with it.
No. In fact, I usually try and avoid that specific one.
Okay, tell me why.
If there's such a large audience, you have way too much competition. You want enough that there's enough activity and that there are enough searches on there. But when I see 2 million for a hashtag, and then I see a similar hashtag that maybe has an add-on or has a word less at the end, and it's got maybe 5,000, I'll pick the 5,000, because I'm more likely to show up in a search amongst 5,000 nearer to the top than I am in 2 million if there are that many going through.
That makes perfect sense to me. Because, and let's take this, with food. Like if you do hashtag food, there are going to be millions of hashtags like that. Same even with if you go with hashtag food porn, lots of ones on that. But hashtag food I'd like to fork. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a narrow audience, and it's going to be an audience that's got a little bit of a kind of a quirky sense of humor to go with it.
Yeah, I usually put it. I think one of the ones I use is "Feed Me More."
Ooh, I like that one too. Mm-hmm. I need to use that with my next ice cream shot.
Well, I put the feed me more. I think I use on Orlando Local. I use Feed the Runner on my own.
Okay. All right. So I kind of want to recap a little bit. You're using hashtags, not necessarily the most popular ones.
No, I'm not.
You're putting out photos of yourself so people can see who you are and that you're going through it, even if it's not necessarily the most glamorous or flattering photo of yourself.
Yes.
You put out like once a week, you'll put out something with a saying on it, but it's an original saying and an original photo to go with it.
It's my photo. And also, I am happy if people want to share things. Most people who are good enough to ask are good enough to give credit for it. But I did have somebody ask if they could borrow it and share it on Facebook. And I said, help yourself.
And of course, you want to find an audience, but then realize that the audience wants more than just one thing.
Yes.
And you combine all those together, and that's how you get an engaged and active audience. Even if it's not the largest one you could get, it's much better, I think, to have an engaged audience than a large one that's not paying attention to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to find that there are always sort of subsidiary branches to the interests of your target audience. So, for example, where you've got photography, photographers are not only interested in photos and maybe certain genres, but they're going to be interested in camera gear and accessories and
the behind the scenes.
And the behind the scenes things or networking. There are all kinds of things that you can put in there, but you need to find out what else do they do. Don't just look at the photo studio. Look beyond that to see, because you might actually be tapping into a little area of the I don't want to call it the market, but you know what I mean.
And by all means, we didn't talk about this yet, but if someone's nice enough to engage you in the comments, talk back with them.
Yes, I always respond to every comment. Always. It's like you're the host.
Exactly. If you want an engaging audience, make sure you engage with them too. Thank you very much for listening to us on the Photo Flunky Show. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Give it a try. Let us know how it works for you. You can leave us a comment at williambeam.com/episode 51. And as I said, there's a transcript of the show there for free. So if we talked a little too fast and you can't replay it, download the transcript. You can just read our suggestions right there. And of course, we'll have some of this on the show notes, as well as links to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, Blueberry, and Stitcher Radio, and so forth. You can find more shows at photoflunky.com. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you, and we hope to hear you again next week.